Hello everyone, my name is Evi. This is an audio reactive example using my new plugin OSCToolset. It is a plugin to bridge data between TouchDesigner and Unreal Engine. I created it because there are things in TouchDesigner that are really easy to do, like as you can see, the audio analysis. It's a piece of cake and it's extremely responsive. You can stop it, you can change the values. It's amazing. But when it comes to rendering, TouchDesigner sometimes lacks the aesthetics and the quality of Unreal Engine. And it's such a nice piece of software that I really like to use both. That's why I created this plugin. And the plugin, basically what you can see here is I'm sending data from TouchDesigner to a Niagara system. You can spawn particles, extremely simple setup. I'll show you how to do it. If you are interested, you can purchase this plugin and this example will be included as well. Let's get into it. I'm gonna make the audio reactive example. I will need a base. I'm gonna make a base in order to structure a bit the project. And I'm gonna call it audio reactive. I will need the float and probably the event. That's the two modules that I'm gonna need. And I'm gonna drop them here. I'm gonna cut them. I will copy them inside the audio reactive example. And now this is mostly what I'm going to use to send data to Unreal Engine. I made a simple sample song and I'm going to load it. I will come here to the operator dialog and look for the file in. And by default, if we want to hear this audio, we have to connect it through the device out. And I will not do that because it's probably too loud. And before I will put it at 2. And now if I connect it, you will hear the audio. I worked so much in TouchDesigner that I grew tired of this song. It's amazing, don't take me wrong. But I made one that has a bit more of a kick. Let's just load it. I think it's in the media projects. Let's check. There we go. It sounds like this. It's fine. We will hear it quite a bit. To make it even simpler, we have already an audio analysis tool in TouchDesigner. You can open the palette. You can go to dialogues, palette browser. Under tools, there is audio analysis. As I mentioned, I just don't want to get into too much detail how to make these by themselves, but just like what tools do you have available to make a fast and simple audio reactive sketch between TouchDesigner and Unreal. This is the fastest way. I will add a null in order to get the data of the audio analysis. And all it does is to analyze the input audio in real time, and it can give us a few parameters. For example, it can give us the lowest spectrum of the audio or the kick. As I mentioned, I would like to have the kick to be able to spawn a particle system. That's what I have here. And then if you select the audio analysis component and you press P, you have all the same settings here that are bound to the UI. As you can see, when I move this dial, the kick threshold also moves here. For what I tested, I think mine works well around here, somewhere that makes sense. We can hear it and see if it's activating properly. Most of the times when the kick is 1, it's gonna go at 1. When the kick is not there, it will be at 0. I'll just take this away. To understand what we need to send, I will just tell you, we want to send an event every time that the kick becomes 1. So it's activated, we want to send an event to Unreal Engine. That's why we're going to use the OSCT send event, and I'm going to drag the null over here, and I'm going to set it as a chop. That's it. That's really nice. For the low and the float, let's see later if I get carried away. Maybe I use it, maybe not. That's all we need actually to do when it comes to the TouchDesigner side. Isn't that beautiful and simple? Okay. Now, in the Unreal Engine side of things, we have to make a particle spawner. And we're going to use a default Niagara system at the beginning. So let's make that. I will have this example stored there, so don't worry for that. But I will make it, so if you want to make your own, you also know how to do those things. To do a new Niagara system, I'm going to right-click, make a Niagara system, and I will take the omnidirectional burst. What a name for what it is at the end of the day. What it's going to do, if I'm going to just make a Niagara system prefix, and then we'll call it kick. So it will be a kick. This every time that we open this, let's see how it looks. I think that actually I can make this bigger for now and focus on the Unreal part. As you can see, when the system activates, it bursts a certain amount of particles. And what's nice about this system is that it will automatically die at once it's done. How do I know that? Is because when we select this, you will see that the loop behavior of this particle system is set to once. So it's not an infinite loop. You can do a lot of things with Niagara. It's absolutely insane. For those a bit like me that are waiting for the pop family of the designer, this is like a bit the coping mechanism. So if you are interested on that, it's quite similar, but you don't have to, you can already use it, for example. If you want to learn how these particle systems work, this is a great starting point. But let's not get carried away. We already have the system. Wow, that's amazing. Let's get it. Let's get the event that we made. I'm going to make a blueprint, just a simple actor. I'm going to call it BP Niagara spawner. And this is extremely simple as well. You will see. I'm going to add an event. That's what we sending from the designer. So if I go back here, you can see I'm sending an event. So I already showed this a lot, but you will get event. And here you have the module. And the module, we have to set the operator name. In this case is null. I recommend to give it an actual name. So because we will work with audio, I will call it null audio. And I will rename it. This will automatically rename it here as well. And now I will use this chop name for the operator name. And the address that I want is the kick. What does that mean? That means that every time the kick is triggered, that we will get an event in Unreal Engine. To see if this is actually like that, we can plug this null. And this is the preview of the event module, basically checking if it's an event or not. You have these settings here that you can change, but by default, it will already work. Let's see, I'm going to debug it. I'm going to print it on screen. And if I compile it and I put it in the world, which is quite important. And to see that, we could add a cube to just check if it's there. And add a cube, as you can see, and I will bring it in the world. Now, in our world, I already added a directional light and a skylight with the cube map, and I just selected one. This gives a little bit of light. The directional light is default. And this, otherwise, without the skylight, you will see these dark shadows. Quite simple. Important, we need the blueprint to be in the world, otherwise it will not really work because it's a runtime plugin. So I'm going to play, and I will see that I get a print every time I get a kick, which is great. But before having to hear the song a lot, we will just spawn the system first. It's as simple as in every event, in every kick, we're going to spawn a system. Spawn system. At location, and the location I want to spawn the system, I will just use the same location of the actor. By default, if you say get actor location, this will get the location of this actor in the world. What does that mean? That means that this PP Niagara spawner has a location, as you can see here, and is going to use this vector in a world space to set the location of the spawner. That's it. The only thing we have to do is to select what system we want to spawn. We called it kick. And now if I save and compile, that's it. That's as fast as it's on. You can see that it's already going. I'm gonna actually take away the cube. And I'm gonna disable the audio so we can hear it. When I play, you can see that it's already connected. Now if I stop Unreal, you will see that this is still playing. A nice neat trick that we can do is to get the game state. Here in the OSCToolset, you can drag the game state and you can copy as well and cut. And I will bring it here. And what we can do with this is to check if the game is playing or not and make it play or not. It's really simple. You make this game state active, and I'm going to drag the init into the queue, I think. I think so. And the play state in the play. Now, even if I disable the audio device out, you will see that there is nothing playing. And it will only play when we start Unreal Engine. So this is already a really nice way to connect both softwares, and it makes it much more smooth to work with this setup. For example, if I play now, it already starts, and this song takes a while to get the kick. And if I stop, it stops. Something really neat as well is that you can use a cube point, because we are using the init event, so when the game starts, to start the song at a specific point of the song. I like to use the fraction, which you can think about it as a percentage. 0 is at the beginning, 1, technically 1 is at the end. So my fraction will be 0.2. That means that the song will start at 20%, and if I play now, it already starts with a kick. We don't even have to wait. And now you can see it's already going. Technically, that's it. That's super simple. It's really nice. Now, what you can do is to take away the debug. And what we can do is to work a bit on the particle system, make it a little bit more interesting. What I like to do when I work with these things is to not have the audio constantly playing, because otherwise your brain becomes absolutely destroyed by the repetition of it. So what I do is to just bypass the device out, but we still get the data in Unreal. All we can do is to put this by big screen, and if I play, it would already play. I don't even have to hear the song. I know it will work. And then I can focus on the statics. So let's do that. In the particle system, I'm going to change a few things. Here, I don't want to go into too much detail. I might do it in the future, but what I want to do is to just have a few settings to give you a bit of an idea of what is possible. What I would like to do probably at the beginning is to, instead of having a sprite render, which is these white particles, I'm going to use a mesh. Here we can say a mesh renderer, and this can be anything you want. As you can see, by default, it's like this gizmo mesh, which gives you the coordinates. And what I want to give it is probably just a cube. Let's make it simple. Let's add the cube. And you can see that they are quite more ginormous. Then how do we change the size? I would like to change the size in the initialized particle. I think you can also do it somewhere here, but let's just go to the initialized particle. You have here a mesh attribute, and we can set it as uniform or random uniform. Random uniform means that it will be a randomized value between 0.1 and 0.5, for example. You can see now maybe 0.5 is a bit too big. Yeah, it's way too big. And I'm going to add 0.1 as the maximum and 0.05 as the minimum. You can see that they are all the same uniform scale, but in different sizes. By uniform, I mean that they are all cubes and not rectangles. So they scale the vector in the three components on the same value. Cool, we have the thing, we can just play it here. Let's see how it looks. That's nice. There is this gravity that I want to get rid of. Very simple. Just disable the gravity force. I'm going to delete it as well. Takes a moment. What I want to do as well is to change the lifetime. The lifetime will dictate how long each particle is going to live. For by default seems to be like 1 to 2.5. This seems to be quite long because we are using a song that's a bit faster. Then I'm going to put these at 0.2 maybe to, let's say, 0.7 or something. Maybe this is a bit too short. Let's put 1 maximum. And you can see that we start to have a nice thing. We can also change the shape. For example, I can use a torus, which is a donut. And you will see that if you look it from the top, it looks like this. Ideally, I would like to rotate it, so we can also rotate it. Here in the rotation mode, we can use yaw, pitch, and roll. And if you set it to 90 and 90, you will get it looking at you. I think at some point, if you set it to degrees. Yeah, there you go. Now the donut is facing us and we have a nice circle. If I go back to the project, if I play, it is over here. It's still going. That's nice. It's always good. Seems to be a bit off. I'm just going to rotate it a bit. There we go. Nice. What I can add now is just a few more things. Let's, for example, add the cold noise. What this can do is to add velocity when the particle is alive. That's why we put it in the particle update. And because we have an initial velocity that bursts the particle throughout the space, we probably have to increase this quite a bit. So let's say 500. And you see already the particles start to move a little bit. And something that you can do as well is to rotate the cube depending on this velocity. If you go to Mesh Renderer in the facing mode, you can use the velocity. And now you see that they are rotating depending on where they are thrown at. And the cold noise, we can also change the frequency. If we make it a bit smaller, like 5, you will see that they start to have like this more organic movement. You can also pan the noise field. In TouchDesigner, this would be the same as transforming a noise, right? So when you add the apps time function, you would do the same here by the pan. For example, if I pan on the X axis, it will move a little bit. It's up to you to play a bit with it. This already looks quite nice. What we could do as well is to scale the mesh depending on its lifetime. This would be done in the particle update. And here, if we say scale mesh by size, we can do, let's see what it does. By default, it's set at 1. And what we want to do is to probably make a vector out of this. So from float, I want to make a vector from float. Now I have this. And if I look at the scale sprite size, let's see how they do it. They do a float from curve. That's what you want to do with a mesh as well. And then here you will see the same, float from curve. And now you will see that the particles, when they die, they already become smaller. This is dictated by this function here. How would you call this? Like this graph. Let's call it graph. And you can add and edit this graph. For example, I would like that they start small, and here in the middle, so 0.5 and 1, they're going to be at its maximum size. And at the beginning and the end, they should be 0, like this. Now, when they are born, they are 0, and that's more of a fade instead of a pop. You can exaggerate this by probably changing and putting some more keys. For example, we are increasing the attack, so they actually follow more of a kick, and they fade away slowly after they die. This is all normalized to the age, as you can see here. And it means that if we change the particle lifetime, it will also follow the same curve, which is really nice. You can always make the lifetime a bit bigger like this, make it 2, and you will see that now they sort of live longer and they follow the path of the noise a bit longer. That's nice. Let's take a look at how it looks. And I'm going to also enable the TouchDesigner device out. And now I'll just play it. There you go. Wow. So nice. So it's cool to play with these things. I love it. Now you have so many things you can work with like this. It's really, really cool stuff you can do, I think. And what I like from this workflow is that you can work with both softwares very easily without the need of having too much things in between. And it's it's great. It's nice, fun. We can also increase the size or the amount of particles. We can do quite a few things. Let's put here, like, for example, 300. Or as we did with the lifetime that we have in random, we can do a random range integer, which can go from 200 to, let's say, 500. Maybe a bit more range. That means that every time it starts, we'll have a different amount of particles, which is also really nice. And then you start to add variation within your particle system, and you can create quite a bit of interesting results.